Before you even come at me, we have roles. He does this, I do that. He does this, I do that.
People, you will not believe how and why this woman from Texas divorced her husband.
To avoid the divorce, guys, listen to your wives.
People are leaving long marriages because of lack of effort, communication, laziness.
So you want to know the real reason why I walked away from my marriage?
70% of women initiate divorce. And you know why?
I called off my engagement after 6.5 years together.
I was selfish in my needs for emotional intimacy, and even when he gave it to me, I was selfish.
I'd say about a year before I requested a separation, started to feel my sense of self slip away.
I think being called a dumb bitch because I asked if I could sleep an extra hour on a Sunday morning.
They promised forever. Then came the lies, laziness, and it's just a friend texts. Women are spilling the real reasons they walked out. It's raw, it's real, it's ridiculous. Subscribe and brace yourself.
I do a lot of divorces. I'm going to tell you the top 3 reasons I've seen that the women decide to leave their husbands. And usually it is the woman who comes in and wants a divorce. And this could be after a 2-year marriage. This could be after a 30-year marriage. What I see is number 1, cheating, lying, or some other unacceptable type of behavior. And they don't want to tolerate it. Number 2, money. Either you're not making enough or you do make enough and you're just stingy and you don't want to share it with your wife. Number 3 is usually they're just tired. If you want to avoid the divorce, guys, listen to your wives. When they tell you they want to see some different type of behaviors, they want to see some action, they want to have date nights, they like flowers, do it and avoid the divorce and possibly risking half your assets. Call me, Katrina Williams, attorney at law.
I called off my engagement after 6.5 years together because I came to realize that I did not want to spend the rest of my life cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, and doing laundry for a man when I worked full-time as well, and that was the expectation for me to take on all of the domestic labor just because I was the woman. That was one of the main motivators for me. I knew that that could not be it, that there had to be more to life, and that I needed for me to find a partner who would be a partner and not just a husband. Now, I have had a bunch of women reach out to me in my messages with similar stories saying that they also called off their engagement. And for me, that was one of the main motivations for me to write my book, Anxious to Wed. I don't think there's enough stories about women walking away from relationships that do not serve them. I think a lot of times women settle for the sake of settling down, and there needs to be more stories, more women's voices, more women standing up and saying, we're not going to accept the bare minimum anymore.
Have you ever fantasized about leaving your marriage? 70% of women initiate divorce. And you know why? Because we're friggin' unhappy. We want more out of life than just all of the boxes to be checked on the form. The house, the car, the family, the boat, the vacation property, the job, the whatever it is. Our life as women is more than that. Our life is emotional connection, intimacy, a partnership that we can actually feel is our partner. We want someone who inspires us intellectually and physically and emotionally, and who truly is someone we can build with. It's not surprising that a lot of us are unhappy, yet we don't make the decision to leave. We carry the weight of everyone else's opinions and needs on us, holding us back from pursuing our joy. Is this you? Have you been contemplating leaving your marriage for months, maybe years, because of so many fears in the way and so many unknowns? I get it. I was you too. It took me 5 years to leave a marriage I wasn't happy about. What if you could figure out what path you wanted to take in 90 days? Wouldn't that be worth it?
The reason I'm going to divorce my husband. Most definitely in the doghouse. Before you even come at me, we have roles. He does this, I do that. He does this, I do that. This is bad. This is bad. I don't do this. He knows it makes me angry too. He's like, I forgot to take out the trash. It's fine. You have dirty laundry for a week, but it's fine.
So you want to know the real reason why I walked away from my marriage? Okay, let's talk about it. It wasn't just one thing. It was the buildup, the constant cheating, the emotional immaturity. A grown man who wanted all the benefits of a wife, but none of the responsibilities of a husband. I was doing it all. I was working. I was holding down the house, and I was showing up for everybody. Meanwhile, he was out here acting like a single man, emotionally unavailable, no support, no growth, just chaos and video games. Marriage just ain't love, it's effort, it's accountability. And I woke up one day and I said, I can't keep pouring into somebody who don't even have the decency to care if I was okay. I left because I got tired of being everything to somebody who couldn't even be something to me. Baby, that ain't marriage. That's a trap. I had to stop normalizing struggle love. And once I woke up, I peeled out and I never looked back.
We were together for 15 years. We were married for 7. It was a beautiful thing, and we still had, like, you know, the normal ups and downs. But I will say we didn't have a relationship where we argued all the time. Yeah. We didn't have a relationship where we were dealing with infidelity or stuff like that, you know, during those times. We didn't have that type of relationship. So, because we were friends first, you know, so it was always like, that's my homie. It was just something in me as a woman. I cannot explain it, to where it was like I was battling myself. You feel like I'm trying to do the right thing, but it's something that's pulling me away from doing this. But why would it pull me away from my husband? I'm battling in the midst of that with religion, like what the people telling me at church and what I'm getting spiritual advice from. And then I'm battling with it with myself. Like, why am I feeling this way? I'm talking about I'm going to therapy for myself to figure out why am I feeling this way towards my husband. And the way I was feeling, it wasn't like I felt resentment towards him. It was almost like I was withholding a piece of me that I couldn't give him. I'm sitting on the couch and we had a small issue, and that small issue was back that pattern. Now, you done went to therapy for this. We done had talks for this. I done talked to you. What did you get from this after I said? To make sure you understand, because I love to communicate. And I'm sitting on the couch, y'all, and I kid you not, God told me, that is not your husband.
So why do a lot of marriages fail at midlife from the woman's perspective? So a lot of times women are staying with the guy because he's reliable, he's a good dad. She's tried to get closer to him for a really long time. This is the pursuer woman, preoccupied attachment woman, and distancer / avoidant husband. She's stayed with him. She's tried to be closer. She's gotten upset. She's gone to therapy with him, all these things. And he just seems to be an immovable object, like he doesn't really open up. So when she gets later to the point in her life where the children are going to be out of the house, she can see the writing on the wall, she starts to think, am I just going to sacrifice like my entire life, you know, on a relationship that never feels close, never feels intimate, and I'm getting too old for this. I only have one life, and so I want to move on. And that is the perspective that people get to at midlife about a range of issues, but especially this.
How did I know it was time to end my marriage? Number one question from women in my DMs. I'm gonna get into some pretty heavy topics in this video, so just a trigger warning. I'd say about a year before I requested a separation, started to feel my sense of self slip away. Having disassociations multiple times throughout the day, started having extreme senses of deja vu. Since learned through therapy that it can actually be a sign of anxiety, and I think I just didn't recognize it in my body because I just didn't want to acknowledge what was happening. I'd be driving around the Bay Area, a place that I have been wanting to leave for so long. I remember I would just have these moments in my car just being like, what are you doing? Why are you here? Almost like putting myself in the multiverse, Spideyverse, like this is not the universe that you're supposed to be in. I felt like I had no energy by the things that brought me joy. I feel like all these emotions and all these things were compounding. And I called my mom and I just told her, like, I am so depressed. I don't recognize myself. Don't have any hope for the future. I just feel so down. That she was like, you need to come home. I never want to feel to the point that I'm that hopeless, that I have nothing to look forward to. I feel like I can't get out of bed every day. The hardest thing for me to admit is that I am at rock bottom right now. No idea what the future is going to look like, but I know there is one. And I know know there is one that I'm going to be excited about, and I know I'm gonna look back at this time and be like, wow, if you got through that, you can get through anything. You're losing yourself to the point that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. It makes sense to start questioning if this is the path you want to be on.
Ashley, I'm with you when you're right. She says people are leaving long marriages because of lack of effort, communication, laziness, feeling single while being married. It's not always because someone stepped out or wasn't a good person. I agree wholeheartedly. And I believe, and I'll continue to say this, I believe women are waking up and realizing some of the things that we haven't had language for in the past, we now have language for. And so it's not always about infidelity. That is not the only reason that someone will walk away from a marriage or a long-term relationship. No, there is, to your point, a lack of communication, effort, genuine care, laziness, feeling single while you're married. That is a whole thing. And especially if you're a mom and you feel like you have to do it all and then you're not getting anything in return, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I wish people understood this more, specifically men, that we are tired and we understand now that we don't have to stay in any relationship that disrupts our nervous system, that doesn't feel good, and we are not going to be these bitter old women because we don't have a man. No, we're going to choose better. We're going to choose healthier relationships that actually is fulfilling. But staying in these relationships just for the sake of saying I have a man or a partner or what have you, that no longer is flying with us. And so I am with you when you're right, and I agree wholeheartedly.
People, you will not believe how and why this woman from Texas divorced her husband. You won't believe this. Let me explain. This police officer from Texas was married to his wife for 10 years with one 13-year-old daughter. Also, this man been a police officer in Texas for over 15 years. He was a police officer well before he got married. Also, keep in mind, they didn't have a perfect marriage. They had problems like everyone else, but for the most part, their marriage was good. Also, this man was a great provider. He paid 80% of all the bills. He paid the mortgage, the car notes, the car insurance. The only real issue they had in their marriage is this police officer worked a lot of overtime. But something happened in this couple marriage that made the wife say hell with this marriage, despite this man being a good husband and being a great provider. So keep in mind, the wife and the daughter have birthdays in November. The wife's birthday is November the 3rd, and the daughter's birthday is November the 14th, and the husband's birthday is December the 16th. The wife got very angry at the husband because he missed her birthday and her daughter's birthday 2 years in a row. The first excuse this cop had was 1 year he was working overtime and he honestly forgot. He said he would never miss their birthdays again, and he apologized. The following year this cop missed their birthday. He told his wife his boss made it mandatory everyone had to work overtime. I'm not sure what was going on his job, but at that time everyone in his department had to work overtime. When this man missed his wife and his daughter's birthday for the second time, he promised to make it up to them by any means. Also, keep in mind, since they was married, he will always celebrate their birthday on the same day. So he wouldn't wait till his wife's birthday or his daughter's birthday. It was convenient to celebrate both of their birthdays on the same day. Also, keep in mind, the wife and the daughter never miss his birthday. Every December 16th, they will always buy him a cake, a card, and acknowledge his birthday. Sometimes they would take him out to eat, take him to the movies, buy him a gift. They never missed his birthday. That's why the wife was so pissed. So after this cop missed his wife and his daughter's birthday for the second time, the wife did the unthinkable. You won't believe what she did. People, I cannot make this up. This woman divorced her husband after 10 years on his birthday on December 16th. Her and her daughter moved out the house and they both blocked this man's number. They both was mad at this police officer for missing their birthdays. People, do you believe this is a valid reason to end your marriage because your husband missed your birthday 2 years in a row because he was forced to work overtime?
5 toxic traits I ditched as a wife to save my marriage. Part 5. Being a selfish wife. So I did a multitude of different things. That's why I categorize it as selfishness. I would do things like make sure that what I wanted got done. But anytime my husband brought up something that he wanted to do, no, we had to do what I wanted to do. Anytime we had extra money, the money always went to what I wanted it to go to, not what my husband wanted it to go to. I was selfish in my needs for emotional intimacy, and even when he gave it to me, I was selfish. I would make promises about intimacy and would never follow through. You know, like flirting throughout the day, maybe sending some pictures, and then when he got home, yeah, no, I'm really not in the mood. I had a rough day. I got a headache. I'm too tired. Any of this sound familiar to anybody? The thing is, I had to realize that I was actually being selfish. And again, this takes personal accountability. So if you haven't noticed the trend from all of these toxic traits that I ditched, personal accountability is the one thing that allowed me to recognize all these things. Personal accountability is the one thing that I had to do to fix all these issues that I had. Another one that goes along with this, sacrifice. I would not want to sacrifice anything to appeal to my husband. I didn't want to be inconvenienced in any kind of way. So I always did what was comfortable for me and didn't think about what my husband needed. Now, I make sure my husband has what he needs first. I make sure that I appeal to what he has going on and what he needs. And it's funny, he does the same for me. So essentially, we're both getting what we want and no one's lacking anything. But the kicker is, we're getting it from each other. We're doing the things necessary to give each other what we want, but not by our own selfishness. I do for him, he does for me. Honestly, neither one of us expects it in return. We do it because we want to. We do it because we love our spouse. Because remember, love is an action, not just a feeling. And so once I ditched my selfish nature, boy, did I get so much clarity. So the fifth and final toxic trait that I ditched, selfishness. I want you to self-reflect. I want you to ask yourself, if you're being selfish, and maybe it's because you feel like you give everything, you never get anything in return. I get it, I've been there, but being selfish will not fix your marriage. It'll actually make it worse. Because remember, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Wives, submit yourself to your husband as Christ submitted on the cross. These 5 traits that I ditched weren't to sit here and try to condemn you. It was to try to share with you what was a major change in our marriage and what worked for us. Honestly, try them out yourself, see if they work for you, because you never know how it could change your marriage.
I think being called a dumb bitch because I asked if I could sleep an extra hour on a Sunday morning, I think that's what did it for me. I think that's what flipped the switch, and I realized I am going to be getting out very, very soon. And that happened twice, 2 Sundays in a row. And that's why we're not in that situation anymore. So we're not going to dive too far into all of the shit that was that 13-year relationship. However, I figured that I would share what actually flipped the switch for me and made me realize that, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. So I think that was initially, there was 2 Sundays. I remember waking up and it wasn't even super early. It was 8:30 in the morning. Kids woke up. I literally just looked over and I was like, hey, kind of did a nice rub in the leg, trying to be, hey, good morning. Is there any way I can maybe sleep in a little bit, just have a little bit of an hour to just kind of relax, sleep in a little. Immediate huffing and puffing, getting up out of bed with an attitude, stomping up the stairs, calling me an entitled, dumb, and then going on a 45-minute tangent about how just of an awful human being that I was. So that happened twice. That was fun. And then back in November, another switch that flipped for me was when Wicked came out. And a friend of mine asked if I wanted to go see Wicked with her. And of course, I was like, yes, I would love to. Knowing full and well what this would entail, because my literally one and only friend, he was never fond of. I was not allowed to hang out with her. It was a fight every single time that I did or even mentioned her name. That's a whole different thing. Anyways, I said, screw it. And I said, when you get home from work, I'm going to watch this movie. And yeah, he was not happy about it. He got home and it was not a good night. He interrogated my friend for a little while in my driveway. And yeah, that was a night where I was like, oh, okay, I'm done. But that was November and I was not about to ruin Christmas for my 4-year-old. So we made it through Christmas, and then January hit, and yeah, January 21st, I woke up and I said, I'm gone. Best day of my life. And it has just only gotten brighter ever since.
Story time on how I knew that my marriage was over for sure. All right, so 7 years ago, my husband's mother was murdered. Unfortunately, she met a guy in the alley and he stabbed her to death. Rest in peace, Ma. We love you so much and we miss you so much. But on March 28th of 2025, that's the day that she had died 7 years ago, we had a memorial. And I made these cute little fans, but me and my husband were kind of on the outs, so I didn't really do too much as far as like planning or anything. He just set it up with all his family and friends to meet at the location where she was murdered. And I made I got some popsicle sticks and got her face, a picture of her face, like cardboard cutout. They sell it on Amazon, but I just glued it onto the popsicle stick and it was like a little fan. So that's all I did. Usually, if we was on the good, we would have been knowing what restaurant we was going to. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So we all meet up at the spot. My husband is still a little distant. People notice that me and him are not really how we usually are, but we're not there for that, so it doesn't matter. My cousin comes, his family comes, we're all together. We have the kids with us and everything. Probably about 20 people show up. And we eventually we all walk into the alley, and everybody says something in memory of her. I read a gospel song, Be Encouraged, no matter what's going on. I read that. And then my husband spoke, and this is how I knew. They say, like, when you know, like when you know you're going to be with somebody, and when you know that you're not going to be with somebody, when you know, you know. So my husband proceeds to show love and thankfulness for every single person that was out there. And when I'm like the only one left, actually me and my cousin were the only ones left, he kind of looks around me and then proceeds to be like, yeah, and that's it. And then my cousin, who's highly offended because me and my husband have been together for 12 years. My cousin was actually married to my husband's cousin for 12 years. They're divorced probably like 4 years now. They've been divorced. So he's like in the family. He known my husband before I knew him. So my cousin, after my husband looks around and avoids me and my cousin goes, and so my husband goes, yeah, and cousin Cliff, thank you so much, you always there for us, da. So we're all like waiting for him to say something about me, but he doesn't. And I knew it before my cousin, before my cousin coughed. I felt it. The thing that went across my mind was, oh, this is the moment. This is the moment that they talk about where you know. There is no way. And granted, it wasn't about me, but he went around to every single even the kids. He said something about the kids, his kids, our best friend's kids, our kids. He said something about every single person. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, oh my gosh, this is the moment that they talk about. Because my husband, the husband that God has chosen for me, he'd be like, babe, come here. Yes, we here, thank you guys. Everybody know Mal, like and I'm not saying I needed praises or anything like that, but he went around to everybody. And maybe it might not make sense to you guys, but it's that feeling where you know. So it was for me. But talking to our family members and stuff, they were all like, we thought it was very, very odd. Like immediately we knew like what's going on with them two. Like something is happening. Like he's not going to say nothing about Mal. Like she's been here the whole time. Like everybody was like, his best friend and his best friend's wife, they were pissed. I didn't even have to say anything to them. They were pissed. And as we were leaving, when we got in the car, he started to argue with me. He was mad that I was upset about it. I didn't even say anything to him. I was talking to our cousin, the one that was married to my cousin. I was talking to her and she was like, what's going on, cuz? Like, why he didn't? I'm like, girl, I think this man really want to leave me. And so she's like, oh my gosh, but we're whispering, we're talking off to the side. Everybody's having their own private conversations. That's what me and her is talking about. So when we got in the car, he asked, what were you and cuz talking about? And I was like, yeah, we were just talking about, and he was like, that was not the time. That was not the place. You're so inappropriate. You don't even know how to control yourself. You don't know how to have discernment and read the room. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about you. I'm like, this is crazy. So yeah, story time on how I knew that my marriage was about to be over. That was on March 28th of this year. He's been indifferent with me since about December of last year. But yeah, that's it.